All right. We're back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Eric Rodriguez here. All your cool wrestling factoids of the week, also the weekend. We talk about a lot of drama behind the curtain as well. Superstar news, injury updates, inactivity statuses, and, contract negotiations from promotions from AEW, WWE, the NWA. If it makes major news wrestling headlines, we talk about it here on the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. So just kind of reflect on what we talked about right quick. We had our AEW Dynamite review. We had my Thursday Night Wrestling preview, Ring of Honor TNA. And now we're going to talk about some TNA Emergence overall. So let's go ahead and dig on into that. But of course, always, if you're feeling generous, if you have a burning question or an opinion you just want to make live, here at the GSMC Sports Network, especially on the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, we are all ears, 1,010%. We want to hear from you guys. I love hearing from you guys. This podcast is overall, GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, but for me, it's like a we podcast. It's exactly what wrestling fans like to hear. A lot of back and forth banter, kind of created throughout this, kind of platform I have here. So overall, 1,010% blessed to kind of, having to be able to kind of promote it to you guys. But yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and move on to TNA Emergence. Overall, I watched highlights of it because I, can't really be buying every single pay-per-view. I'm just kidding, no. But I thought it was great. I thought it was a great pay-per-view for TNA. With the success of Slammiversary, I feel like, it's sky's the limit. The sky's the limit right now with Impact Wrestling TNA. And I think a lot of people kind of have TNA kind of hidden under the radar, so to speak. I don't know if that makes sense. But, they're underrated. They are underrated. But then they're not yet overrated. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're like right in that middle where, TNA, if you're a wrestling fan, and if you look at it, and if you kind of see this facade of not empty arenas, but crowd of like 1,000 people, you kind of be like, dude, this is a trash wrestling show. But in reality, it's not. It's very good. It's very good. Sometimes people mistake quality for quantity, and quantity for quality. Like, for example, where you see a lot of, WWE fans that pack stadiums. Then sometimes it just doesn't really add up to the hype. TNA's the opposite of that. They're able to kind of give you more bang for their buck, kind of, so to speak. So let's go ahead and talk about some Emergence tonight. All right. So we had Frankie Kazarian defeat Kushida, which, I love Frankie Kazarian. I think right now, like with his storyline, I kind of compared him to kind of like a Randy Orton, where he kind of goes out there and kind of does his own thing. He doesn't give two craps about if you care about it. He doesn't care if you're sad. He doesn't care what he does makes you angry. Overall, he just kind of goes up there to get his own. That's kind of that's like Randy Orton to a T right there. Like, what I mean? And a lot of people think that he's definitely going to be coming back for another heel turn. I kind of read a lot of reports on that in WWE. But overall, like, it's just Frankie Kazarian, he's definitely on the top, heading toward and on TNA. Definitely one of the superstars of the future. I love his feud between him and Joe Hendry. So yeah, 1,010%. I think Frankie Kazarian's gonna keep killing it. All right, next you had PCO was supposed to take on Matt Cardona. Matt Cardona has not yet been cleared by TNA doctors to compete yet. He was able to pick up the victory against the TNA Digital Media Champion, International Heavyweight Champion. PCO defeated Matt Cardona's mystery monster, the Indian Lion Shera. And after you saw Stephanie Lander, she was proud of her husband. It was kind of cool, but overall, I feel like it's a little manipulative. I feel like when PCO takes on Matt Cardona for that championship belt, you're going to see a huge betrayal. And it's going to be heartbreaking. All the hearts are going to break all around the world. But I, definitely think that's kind of heading toward the future there. Next, we have the X Division Championship match. Zachary Wentz defeated Mike Bailey, Hammerstone, Jason Hotch, Riley Osborne, and the Laredo Kid. Like I said before, I love this booking for Zachary Wentz. He's a very talented, tag team superstar. But also, like, just because you're a tag team superstar doesn't necessarily mean you can't really dabble in singles wrestling competition. But for me, I feel like that's the opposite. Single superstars can't create a tag team to win the tag team titles. Other than that, like, you can't really go backwards. Kind of like when you saw Kofi Kingston win, and it was Kofi Mania. When the New Day had the belt, like, it was cool. When you recently saw Roman Reigns with the Tribal Chief, with the bloodline. That was cool. Like, and you don't always have to, just because somebody from a tag team wants to pursue a little small, a little smidge in terms of a promotional, singles wrestling bout. You don't have to break them apart. You don't have to do anything like that. This could have been. I feel like in early WWE, this would have been a huge reason for, like, Zachary Wentz to turn on Trey Miguel. And it's, obviously that's not where it's going, which I'm so freaking proud of that fact. But Zachary Wentz is definitely one of the most talented superstars on the TNA roster. I feel like he's only going to get better. I'm gonna love, his match, against Nathan Frazier and Axiom on the CW for those NXT tag team titles. Bringing them to TNA would be great. I feel like breaking that fourth wall at this time is absolutely 1,010% necessary. And I hope for the best for these guys because they're great. They're great. Zachary Wentz is indeed very, very great. All right. So next we had Steve Macklin taking on Eric Young, throwing a lot of credit toward Eric Young. I love Eric Young in TNA because he kind of stuck in the, you know, he's been in and out of the wrestling promotion. He's been with WWE with the whole Sanity or whatever. And then he made it to TNA. He started with TNA as like this kind of, frail, kind of this, pushover, kind of this guy who really doesn't really know how to, like, handle the match. So Eric Young, the way he's kind of been, kind of stepping up, although he did lose against Steve Macklin, which kind of sucked. I feel like Eric Young, but then Eric Young, like, he's at that spot in his relationship, kind of like where you see like WWE's Bailey, where, you're still there and you definitely still have a lot to prove. You have still a lot left in the tank. But right now, you kind of think about a lot of the younger talents that, like, you look, like, kind of, what can I do? What can I do to kind of put these people over? A lot of the times the wrestling industry is a cutthroat industry, but overall, all these guys help each other. They're there for each other. These guys go on the road 365 freaking days of the year. So if you're making enemies, it's not going to make that travel any better. So, definitely love and respect Eric Young. And I'm not just saying that because his name's Eric. Definitely not. Maybe. I'm just kidding. Next, you saw Jordan Grace, the TNA Knockouts World Champion, team up with Spitfire to defeat Alicia Edwards, Masha Slamovich, and also Ash by Elegance. I feel like Spitfire is a better fit for the TNA Knockouts World Tag Team Championship, but that's just my opinion. Jordan Grace once again proves why she's so amazing, why she's definitely the best women's wrestler in professional wrestling right now. But I don't know. With this match, kind of the third match between Ash and Jordan. They fought each other twice already head to head. It was a great battle. I want to see these guys one more time. I want to see these girls go at it one more time. You have Bound for Glory coming up, which is one of TNA's biggest events of the year. Imagine, like a main event. Sorry, excuse me. Imagine a main event. Jordan Grace takes on Ash by Elegance. And I don't know. I feel like it'd be badass. I would love to see that. Next, the TNA World Tag Team Champions ABC defeats AJ Francis and Casey Navarro. Obviously, you're not really going to be seeing Rich Swann anywhere near TNA. Not going to get too crazy into it, but it is what it is. But I feel like it kind of overall, it caused a lot of what Casey Navarro wanted to do in his kind of his bookings and his character development. Gonna have to step it up because Rich Swann was able to kind of be that antagonistic guy to be able to kind of piss off the opponents. AJ Francis was kind of like the finisher. So it's going to be interesting to see how his character is portrayed moving forward because they're like, look, we just lost Swann. Now we need somebody to kind of be that guy. So I don't know. It should be interesting. 1,010%. Can't wait to see what happens with this, moving forward. All right, next you had the System teaming. No, the System defeats the Hardy Boys, Joe Hendry and Mike Santana. Kind of came as a shock, that leaves Joe Hendry dealing with two losses recently. So I don't think this is over between the System and the Hardys. Joe Hendry, he's kind of right now. People love him on NXT. I don't think he has a booking next week, but it'd be kind of cool to kind of see him come back. But I think he's going to try to focus a little bit more on TNA and eventually make his way back against to take on the NXT World Heavyweight Champion in the future. But it was an impressive win by System, something that they needed to do to get back on track. But I don't know, overall, it was a good win. It was a good win. Obviously, you know how they kind of win, but the TNA World Heavyweight Championship match between Nick Nemeth and Josh Alexander in an ironman match. Not best two out of three files. Nick Nemeth was two up. He was up 2-0. 15 minutes came by. Josh Alexander hit consecutive pile drivers, 4, 1, 2, 3. Another 1, 2, 3. Wanted to get that third 1, 2, 3, but was not able to. And then with I think they said about like 5 minutes left to 8 minutes. I'm not too no, not no. I know that's way too light. But Nick Nemeth was able to pick up the victory 3-2 in the Iron Man match. And he was confronted by JBL after the match, which was, surprising, not really surprising because this whole collaboration between WWE and, TNA, maybe he was there to talk about, he was there to talk to Nick Nemeth about, hey, like, definitely think about coming back to WWE. You know what I mean? Like, be portrayed in this collaboration because overall, I feel like it'd be great for your career, on TNA. It'd be good for your standings with WWE. And I don't know. I just overall it was good. It was, Emergence was pretty badass. Don't really have any negative things to say about it. TNA, had back to back, had some pretty good pay per views. So yeah, can't wait to see more of TNA wrestling. Impact. All right, a fourth segment, we're going to talk about Jordynne Grace's Open NXT Challenge. She's recently said on social media that she's going to show up NXT next week during WWE Week on the USA Network to hold an open challenge for any WWE star. Well, she said NXT star, but it's a lot of WWE stars dabble on into NXT just to kind of get their foot in the door. So yeah, we're going to get on into that. So grab your favorite snack. Grab your favorite ice cold beverage and join me here in about like 20 seconds.